Okay, you ever find yourself like in those first few weeks, right, staring down and wondering like, is this a burrito baby or an actual baby? It's crazy. The whole like belly thing during pregnancy, it's mind-blowing, but also, let's be real, kind of confusing.
So today we're doing a deep dive on, like, decoding the difference. Baby bump versus belly fat. No judgment here, okay?
Yeah.
Just straight up fascinating facts. And we've got our expert here to, to break it all down. They've got all the info on what's actually happening.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing when you think about it. Your body is literally like building a whole human being. It's incredible. And of course, that means like things are going to, change, right? Your shape is going to change.
Totally. So when we talk about a baby bump, right, what are we actually talking about? Like, besides, the cuteness overload, what's going on, scientifically?
Okay, so picture this. Your uterus, where the baby is growing, right? It starts out like the size of a small grapefruit.
Okay.
And as you go through the pregnancy, that grapefruit is turning into a watermelon. It's expanding, right? So that pushes your abdominal wall outward and boom, you've got that curve, that baby bump.
Grapefruit to watermelon.
Yeah.
That's quite the visual. Okay, so like when does this whole, fruit basket situation, when does it actually become like noticeable?
You'll probably start seeing and feeling that curve like really emerging around 12 weeks or so.
Okay.
But, and this is super important, every pregnancy is different, totally unique.
So if someone's like, rocking a bump a little earlier or later than, the textbook says, it's not like a red flag or anything?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes people pop earlier. Maybe it's their body type or it's not their first pregnancy, or let's be honest, sometimes it's just good old bloating.
Oh, yeah. Bloating deserves like an award in those early weeks. But okay, back to the bump. Our source material mentioned it feeling like a basketball under your skin. That's got to be a pretty unique feeling, right?
Right. And that firmness, that's a key difference between the bump and belly fat. Belly fat's, it's usually softer.
Okay, so that's a big one to remember. Baby bump. Firm, almost like you can knock on wood.
Yeah.
Belly fat. Softer, more
pliable.
Yeah.
Pliable. And we got to remember belly fat, totally normal. Whether you're pregnant or not. It's just, it's just that extra adipose tissue likes to hang out around the midsection.
Right, right. Yeah. And it's important to tell the difference, right? Because that baby bump, that's definitely the star of the show during pregnancy, but belly fat's still there, playing a supporting role. It's not like you conceive and poof, it magically vanishes.
Exactly. You got it. And that's where it gets, a little tricky for some.
So it's not like this magical thing where like, poof, all the belly fat's gone and it's just this perfect basketball bump, right?
Not exactly. It's more like, imagine your belly's like, an apartment building, right?
Yeah.
And the baby bump, that's the new tenant moving in.
Okay.
But the building, that's your body,
Yeah.
right? And belly fat, well, that might have already been living there.
Right.
So now they're kind of like coexisting, each doing their own thing.
I like that. So the baby bumps, like getting settled in, growing alongside any belly fat that's already there.
Yeah.
But what about like when you can feel the baby moving? Can you feel it in the belly fat too?
Yeah.
Or am I just like imagining things?
I totally get where you're coming from. You'd think those kicks would be like rippling through everything, right?
Right.
But actually, your baby is like nice and cushioned inside the uterus, surrounded by all that amniotic fluid. So those kicks, those movements, they're mostly contained within the bump itself, not really traveling through that belly fat layer.
Good to know. So it's like all baby all the time. Those little movement. It's kind of amazing when you think about it, like this tiny little being getting strong enough to like karate chop its way into the world.
Seriously. And here's another interesting thing. Where you carry your bump, it can be totally different from person to person. Your anatomy, the baby's position, even how strong your core muscles are, it all plays a role.
Wait, really? Core strength like impacts how you carry? I
Wow.
never even thought about that.
It's like, imagine your core muscles are like the internal support system, right? So they help to like carry the weight of that growing uterus. And that can affect how your bump looks like. Some people might carry high, some low,
So it's less about like getting a six-pack during pregnancy and more about just having that underlying strength.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. It's all about supporting your body and that little life growing inside. And speaking of support, I think we should talk about something that I know a lot of expectant moms feel that pressure to have the perfect bump.
Yes. It's like, congratulations, you're growing a human. Oh, and by the way, here's all this pressure to make sure your bump looks a certain way. It's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's just not realistic or helpful to compare like that. Everyone's body is different and every single pregnancy is unique.
Right. Right. So how do we like shift away from that comparison game and get back to, just appreciating what our bodies are doing, especially with all those hormones going haywire.
One thing I always suggest is, think about how you're documenting this time. Instead of just those like perfect bump pictures for social media, why not take some progress photos just for you?
Ooh, I like that. Like a visual love letter to your changing body.
Yes. Capture all of it, the good, the bad, the bloated, the days where you're like, is this a bump or did I just eat too much pizza? When you look back at those photos, it can be so powerful. You see how far you've come, how much your body has adapted and grown. And speaking of feeling good in your own skin, can we talk about clothes for a sec?
Okay, yes, because comfortable clothes are essential.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's time to say goodbye to those pre-pregnancy jeans that are just not bringing the joy anymore.
For real. Listen, your body is working overtime to create a human being. It deserves to be comfy. It's time to embrace the flowy dresses, the stretchy leggings, anything that makes you feel good.
Comfort over everything. And hey, while we're on the topic of feeling good, one of our sources actually mentioned prenatal massage as a way to really connect with your changing body. We've talked about how different the bump and belly fat feel. So how does massage play into that whole thing?
That's a really good point. Prenatal massage is amazing for relieving tension and just helping you relax, which is so key during pregnancy, right?
Yeah, especially in those later months when you're, feeling a bit more round.
Exactly. Plus, prenatal massage can also help with circulation and swelling, which can make a big difference if you're feeling any discomfort, in your belly area.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about pampering yourself. It's actually beneficial for your physical health too.
Exactly. It's about supporting your physical and emotional well-being, during this whole transformative time. And speaking of support, remember, you don't have to go through this alone. Talking to other moms-to-be, whether it's friends, family, or like a support group, can be so helpful.
There's something so amazing about being around people who just get it.
Yeah.
All the ups and downs, the joys, the challenges, the whole, wow, my body's creating a human thing. It's a lot.
Totally. It's like having your own little cheering section, who get what you're going through, like bumps, belly fat, all of it.
Exactly. Just sharing those experiences, even the ones that are confusing or whatever, it can really help you feel less alone. And remember, when it comes to pregnancy, there's no one size fits all.
Totally. Which actually reminds me, we were talking earlier about that connection between your bump and your core strength.
Yeah.
Is there anything else people can do to support their bodies, especially as that bump is, growing and shifting and everything?
Oh, for sure. That's such an important thing to think about because, we've been focusing on the bump itself, right? But underneath it all, your abs, they're going through this whole transformation too. Have you ever heard of diastasis recti?
Diastasis.recti. That sounds kind of intense, to be honest. It's a mouthful, I know. But it's actually super normal during pregnancy. Basically, what happens is the two long muscles that run down your abdomen, they kind of separate a bit.
Okay.
Think of it this way. As your uterus grows, it needs more space, right? So it gently pushes those muscles apart. Makes room for the baby.
Gotcha. So it's not my muscles are ripping apart or something scary like that.
No, not at all. It's really more of a stretching. For most people, it happens gradually throughout the pregnancy, and it's totally fine. But it does explain why having good core strength is so helpful.
Right, okay. It's all making sense now. So those muscles, even though they're stretching, they're still working hard, supporting everything that's going on.
You got it. And that's why doing some pregnancy safe exercises can be really good. And I'm not talking crazy crunches or anything, just gentle stuff that helps those deep core muscles stay strong.
Right. So it's more about just supporting them as they change and adapt, not trying to force them back to how they were before.
Yeah, exactly. It's about working with your body, not against it.
Yeah.
And you know what else can be super supportive during this whole experience?
Tell me.
Self-compassion.
Ooh, yes. More of that, please. It's so easy, to get caught up in everything and just forget to be nice to yourself.
I know, right? Pregnancy can feel like this total whirlwind. You're changing physically, emotionally. It's totally normal to look in the mirror some days and be like, who is that? Or to just feel overwhelmed by it all.
Oh, yeah. Those feelings are real. So how do we actually cultivate more of that self-compassion, especially when we're bombarded with all these images of perfect pregnancies everywhere we look.
One thing that can really help is to try and shift your focus. Like instead of comparing, try to appreciate. Instead of judging your bump or, worrying about belly fat, just take a second to really think about what your body's doing. It's creating a human life. That's incredible.
So true. It's like shifting from, am I doing this right, to, wow, look what my body's doing.
That's it. Celebrate the changes, all of them. Even the messy ones, the unexpected ones, because there's no such thing as a perfect pregnancy.
I love that. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the wonderful world of baby bumps and belly fat, what's the one thing you want our listener to take away from all of this?
I think it's just to embrace the journey. Bumps, bloating, the whole shebang. Your body is doing something amazing. It deserves all the love and appreciation you can give it every step of the way.
So well said. And
Yeah.
you, dear listener, you've got this. We are here to
Thanks.
support you on this wild ride. We'll catch you on our next deep dive.